We will keep tabs as always and report back in a year or so. Thing number four, Gary, we've got a brawl at the Fed. You've got President Trump, Jerome Powell. Thing number four, Gary, Trump versus Powell, the brawl for low rates.
Yeah. So, um, President Trump has very quietly implied, he hasn't said anything definitive, that he would like to replace Jerome Powell. He has not tried to do anything officially. He has not made any official pronouncements, but the noise has been enough so that the press has asked Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, if President Trump asks you to resign, will you? And Powell's response in the press conference was hilarious. It was simply this: no. That was his answer, right? No. Um, and what's interesting to me about all of this is I think both men are wrong. I think both men are making an error, both Trump and Powell. Uh, President Trump has been crystal clear as a candidate this time around that he would like to bring the Federal Reserve more squarely under the control of the executive branch of the government. He wants the president, the White House, to have more influence over the Fed. This is a terrible idea. And the reason for that is because every president wants low interest rates. They want that economic stimulus because they all want to run on good GDP, right? They all want a roaring, succeeding, happy economy where people are making lots of money. And that happens a lot with low rates. The problem with low rates is we end up with more inflation. If any of you want more inflation right now, raise your hand because you're the only ones hoping for it. Um, and so it's not just that I don't want President Trump to have influence over this. I don't want any president to have influence over this. The current White House has actually spent a lot of the last 2 years quietly telling the Fed, we want lower rates, we want lower rates. Democratic members of Congress have been begging for lower rates. So, in a few months, it's going to be Republicans begging for lower rates. I don't think that the current White House should have done it. I don't think the next White House should do it. I don't think Democratic members of Congress should be doing this, nor Republicans. People should not be trying to politicize the Fed. So when I say, well, wait a minute, everybody's wrong. Well, what about Powell? What did he do? Well, without having inflation under control, Powell did the thing that I warned would be a problem. He lowered interest rates. He did the double rate cut, 50 basis points in September, right ahead of the election. And the problem with that is it made the Fed appear to be partisan. And then they cut again in November. And guess what they're talking about doing right now? They're talking openly about being less accommodating when President Trump takes office. Now, people could say, well, wait, that's good policy. We cut because we had a recession and now we have inflation going up. And, so they're worried about that. And these are really just legitimate responses to differences in data. And that's possible. The problem is that when the Federal Reserve takes actions like this and they say, we want to cut just before a big election, and when the guy we didn't want to win wins, we're going to give him higher rates, it makes the Fed appear to be politically driven. And so, what we have are politicians who are politically driven. And right now, the Fed appears to be politically driven. And this is not good for anybody. My advice to everybody is you can feel free to shut up now.
Going to your advice, Gary, do you think anything does shake out between Trump and Powell? I believe the new nomination is coming in 26. What would be your recommendation?
So Powell's term expires, you're right, Rob, in 2026, in 2 years. Um, Again, we might need a constitutional scholar here. To the best of my knowledge, the president does not have the power to just fire the chairman of the Federal Reserve. Uh, if he were to try to do that, one of two things would happen. Either Jerome Powell would fund his own, and this is a guy who I believe has a nine-figure net worth. So Powell is more than capable of funding his own legal defense. And if he does that, he'll fight. He'll fight to keep his job and fight to maintain the independence of the Fed. There has been talk that, okay, but what if this, that, and the other? And, people have said, I see a path to where President Trump could remove Chairman Powell, and it still doesn't work. And here's the reason. Let's imagine hypothetically that President Trump were able to force Jerome Powell to step down and no longer be chairman of the Federal Reserve. However, he would still remain a governor of the Fed. Well, at that point, the other governors of the Fed might say, okay, well, you can appoint whoever you want, but when there's a decision to be made, we're all going to turn toward Powell. They can basically neutralize the decision by all looking to Powell for guidance and leadership. So I don't think that it's advisable for President Trump to try to politicize this. I don't think he has a successful path to do it. I think knowing that, he's going to wait a couple of years and then put his own person in 2026. I am hoping for a hard money enthusiast like Judy Shelton. She's pro gold. I think it would be terrific. Peter Schiff would love that as well. Peter and I would be in strong agreement about Judy Shelton taking over the Fed. I hope that's what happens. The one reason I'm a little skeptical that that might happen is President Trump wants accommodating interest rates, and I don't know that you get that with a hard money enthusiast. That said, the dream scenario, and now I'm really dreaming here, is that Vivek and Elon and the DOGE managed to cut a couple $1 trillion of spending, and that puts us all on better footing. And then we get Judy Shelton as a hard money advocate, and then somehow then Chair Shelton says, you know what, this is ridiculous. The market can set this rate, and we'll all just go home, and calls Vivek and Elon and says, please sell the Fed buildings and our assets and our computers, chairs, and desks, and take our pens. So that would be the ideal scenario. I feel like the probability of that particular chain of events happening is around 0, but hey, it's our show. We can dream if we want to.
That's exactly right. You can start your own show and dream about whatever you want to dream if you want to, or get involved in the comments. Tell us how smart we are, or dumb we are, one way or the other. Just make sure, like, comment, share to everybody you know.
Yeah, exactly. But Rob, my concern is we've gone from economic analysis to like Gary's nutty fantasy hour here.
We will be sure to self-correct next week and get us back in between the lanes then.
Rob, how bad is it? People have all kinds of fantasies. My fantasy is that we just get rid of the Federal Reserve. Like that's what I dream about at night.
It's all you want, all you need.
Yeah.